Get out of the car. Put your hands up. Don't make me say it again. The voice thundered through the silent night, slicing through the stillness like a blade. Flashing red and blue lights lit up the lonely Georgia road, casting sharp shadows on the black SUV that had just been forced to a stop. Inside, the man behind the wheel, Marcus Bennett, placed his hands calmly on the steering wheel. His face remained composed, but his eyes reflected a storm of restrained irritation. He had committed no crime. No speeding, no broken lights, no traffic violations. Yet here he was, surrounded by two officers with their hands on their weapons, as if he were a fugitive on the run. I said, "Get out of the car." "Now," barked one of the officers, his voice coarse with authority, laced with profanity. The man, short and stocky, had already drawn his gun. His partner, tall and narrow-eyed, stood by with arms crossed and a smug look on his face. To them, Marcus was just another black man alone at night. Easy target. Easy victory. But they had no idea who Marcus Bennett truly was or what one phone call from him could ignite. The SUV had rolled silently along the cracked pavement of the small Georgia town just minutes earlier. Marcus had been driving home from Washington, D.C., where he had attended a high-level military strategy meeting at the Pentagon. At 54, Marcus retained the poise and authority of a man who had spent decades in uniform. Broad-shouldered, silver-templed, with eyes that had seen wars and political deceit, he now looked forward to nothing more than a peaceful evening in his rural home. When the lights flashed behind him, Marcus sighed. He checked his speed. He hadn't gone above the limit. His registration was current. Everything was in order. But the weight of history reminded him, sometimes, being a black man in an expensive car was all it took. He pulled over with deliberate slowness, turned off the engine, and waited. The two white officers exited their cruiser. The shorter one, Officer Brad Turner, approached first, knocking loudly on Marcus's window. Marcus rolled it down, the cool air brushing his face. "License and registration," Turner snapped, without a hint of courtesy. Marcus replied evenly. "May I ask why I was stopped?" Turner sneered. "Didn't use your signal when you changed lanes. Now hand over your papers." Marcus knew that was a lie, but he also knew challenging it now would only escalate the situation. Slowly, he retrieved his license and registration, handed them over, and kept both hands visible. The taller officer, Officer Kyle Reynolds, leaned down and peered into the car. "Is this your vehicle?" he asked, mock surprise in his tone. "Yes." "Funny. Doesn't look like someone like you would own something like this. You sure you didn't boost it from somewhere?" Marcus remained calm, but the insult was noted. He had faced hostile enemies in combat zones, but nothing prepared him for the dehumanizing arrogance of the people who were supposed to protect and serve. "Get out of the car," Turner ordered. "Do I have the right to know why?" Turner leaned in closer, his breath thick with coffee and disdain. "Because I said so." Marcus gritted his teeth. Still, he stayed calm. He looked Turner straight in the eye. "That's not a lawful command." Reynolds laughed. "We'll see about that." Without further warning, Turner drew his weapon and pointed it directly at Marcus's head. "Out. Now." Marcus slowly raised his hands. Not in fear. In awareness. He knew what could happen if he moved too quickly. He had seen too many headlines. As he stepped out of the vehicle, the officers advanced. Reynolds looked him up and down. "Where'd you get that watch?" "Welfare fraud." Marcus said nothing. Turner shoved his shoulder. "Come on, speak up. Or you know I'm right." "Don't touch me," Marcus warned, voice low. Turner bristled. "Who do you think you are? Giving orders to us?" Marcus answered without flinching. "A citizen with rights." That was too much for Turner. He slammed the barrel of his gun into Marcus's chest. "On your knees." "No." Reynolds stepped forward to force Marcus down, but the older man held firm. They pushed harder. Eventually, Marcus stumbled to one knee, but he did not bow his head. When Turner kicked him hard in the back, slamming him to the ground, Marcus remained silent, dignified, unyielding. As the two officers mocked him, Marcus said quietly, "You have no warrant. You're violating federal law." "And who are you?" Reynolds scoffed. Marcus looked up slowly. "A federal employee." That stopped them. "Don't lie," Turner snapped, but his voice lacked its former confidence. Marcus, still on the ground, calmly reached for his phone. When he held it up, Turner threatened him again. "Be careful. I'm just making a call." He dialed a number, one committed to memory years ago. The call was answered immediately. "General Clarence Monroe," said a commanding voice. "Sir, it's Colonel Marcus Bennett." A pause. "Marcus? What's wrong?" "Unlawfully stopped." "Two officers." "Racial profiling." "Excessive force." No costs. Send me their details. Marcus snapped a photo of the two officers, now watching uneasily. Who are you calling? Reynolds asked. Marcus smiled. The man who can end your careers tonight. Moments later, Turner's radio crackled. Turner, Reynolds, you are detaining someone you have no authority to detain. Release him immediately. That's an order. The smug expressions drained from their faces. Marcus stood slowly. He pulled a dark blue ID card from his coat and held it up. Colonel Marcus Bennett, U.S. Army, assigned to the Pentagon. Turner turned white. Reynolds looked ill. Sir, we didn't know, Turner stammered. That's the problem, Marcus said coldly. If I weren't a colonel, just a regular black man, what would have happened tonight? They had no answer. You would have arrested me. Fabricated charges. Used force. Maybe worse. Another siren wailed. A black SUV pulled up, Internal Affairs. Out stepped a man with salt and pepper hair and sharp eyes. Chief Alan Graves. What's going on here? He barked. Reynolds tried to explain. We had a misunderstanding. Graves raised his hand to silence him. Save it. We heard everything. He turned to his team. They played back the audio from the officers' body cams. Get out or I swear. You don't need a reason to arrest someone like that. Graves turned purple with rage. You idiots recorded everything. You're done. He turned to Marcus. Colonel Bennett, I'm deeply sorry. Apology isn't enough, Marcus replied. They need to be removed. Permanently. Graves nodded. Turner. Reynolds. You're suspended, effective immediately. Please, Chiefa. Save it. You're racist with badges. And that ends tonight. But Marcus wasn't done. I want an investigation. Not just into them, but into your whole department. This can't be isolated. Graves hesitated, then nodded. You have my word. And the investigation began. Footage confirmed everything. Officers Turner and Reynolds had histories, complaints, ignored. Marcus's case went viral. Other black residents came forward. It wasn't an isolated incident. It was systemic. Reforms followed. Training. Oversight. Community panels. Turner and Reynolds were fired. Investigated federally. Their names now symbols of what must never be allowed again. As for Marcus, he declined interviews. Declined fame. He didn't want a spotlight. He wanted change. Months later, as the Georgia sun set over the same road, Marcus drove past the spot where he had once knelt with a gun to his head. Now, he drove as a man who had fought and won, not just for himself, but for countless others. Not with rage, but with resolve. Justice wasn't a gift. It was demanded and earned. Forever.